Okay, welcome to all. And this seminar is given by Mr. Ali Hassan Sheikh, and he is from the Gauhati University. Currently, he is doing his PhD, and he is an Inspire Fellow. He was also gold medalist in his master, and he is doing his PhD with Dr. Biman Jyoti Medi, who was also scientist here earlier, and now he is an associate professor there in Guwahati University. So the title of his talk is Probing Star Formation and Stellar Evolution, and he will be discussing about his recent results on open clusters. So you can start, Ali.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. Myself, Ali Hassan. So I will give a talk on proving star formation and stellar evolution using statistical and multi-wavelength photometric approach insight into open star cluster and blue straggler stars. So I will present the investigation of open cluster for star formation, then stellar evolution and different type of stellar populations such as pre-main sequence star, main sequence star, and blue stragglers. So we investigated two young open cluster and two old open cluster using different statistical methods and multi-wavelength approach to investigate the star formation and stellar dynamics. So my interest is in pre-main sequence stars, that's young stellar objects that such as Harvey-Kharo object and T Tauri stars and blue straggler stars in old open cluster. Now talking about blue straggler stars, the blue straggler stars are the stars that are brighter and bluer than the main sequence turn-off in a HR diagram. So according to standard stellar evolution theory, they should not be there because of their mass. But they acquired mass while they are on main sequence and live longer than usual according to the standard stellar evolution theory. So there are three primary formation mechanism that propose to explain the formation of blue straggler stars, that are binary mass transfer, binary merger, and collision theory. But merger and collision theory, that is generally seen in dense environment, that is globular cluster. But my interest is in old open cluster. So there is binary mass transfer is predominant. The binary mass transfer, there are three types that depends on the evolutionary state of the donor star. So if a main sequence star is in a binary with the another main sequence star, then that is called case A mass transfer. Then they will share a common envelope and eventually they will merge. And then if the main sequence stars is in binary with the RGB stars, red giant stars, then when the red giant will fill its Russell, then the mass transfer will happen. And eventually the another companion will become blue stragglers and it will produce a helium core white dwarf. And that is case B, mass transfer. And third one is case C. In that case, the main sequence will make a binary with AGB star, asymptotic giant branch stars. Then eventually the mass transfer will occur and that will leave a carbon oxygen white dwarf. So talking about methodology, we use different data from Gaia, Tumas, then Chandra, Swift, UV data, then Penstar, Herschel, test data, etc. Then we use different tools, Astega, that is automated stellar cluster analysis tool, then GalPy, PNizer, MIST, virtual observatory acid analyzer, light curve, etc. Now, when you study open cluster, the primary work has to be done is cluster membership. That is very important. Earlier, that was very difficult. But after ability of the Gaia data, they provide us precise measurement of the star's position, then proper motions, radial velocity, etc. So we used an ensemble-based unsupervised machine learning technique to determine the membership probabilities. Now, this method consists of two steps. First one is to determine a appropriate range of cluster astrometric parameter. So for which we first take data of smaller search radius, because the cluster center is dominated by cluster member. So to get the range of appropriate parameter, we use KNN algorithm, that is K nearest neighbor algorithm, in which we used average nearest neighbor distance for each stars. Yeah, that is based on Euclidean distance. Then after getting the range of parameter, we download the data for a bigger search radius. Then we applied that range of parameter to narrow down the sample. Then we calculate Mahalanobis distance. The Mahalanobis distance is nothing but a distance between a point to a distribution. So why we use Mahalanobis distribution? There are different methods, but we use three-dimensional parameter space. That is parallax, right ascension in proper motion in right ascension, and proper motion in right declination. So this is multi-dimensional data. So if you feed a GMM Gaussian mixer model, that there is a risk of overfitting or underfitting. So we use Mahalanobis distance that uses a covariance matrix that breaks the correlation between these variables. So the Mahalanobis distance reduce the three-dimensional parameter space to one-dimensional parameter space. Then we use a Gaussian mixer model with two components, one for cluster member and one for field star. Then we solve the function using expectation maximization algorithm, and from which we get the responsibility that A stars will be for cluster member or field star. Then we use STK for best fitted astrophysical parameter, so that mimics the observed cluster and give us the best fitted astrophysical parameter using Bayesian approach. Then to estimate the mass function, we use Monte Carlo approach, and in which we generate a synthetic cluster using those best fitted parameter, and then we calculate the Euclidean distance for observed cluster and the synthetic cluster. Then we generate the individual mass, and there are uncertainties from this method. And to generate the extinction map, we use Pineiser technique, which is also an unsupervised machine learning technique that estimates the visual extinction for individual point. And to determine the radial surface density profile, we used King model, that is using Bayesian Monte Carlo Markov-Chain technique. Then we use GelPy for orbit analysis, and then for Young cluster we used color diagram to identify the young stellar objects, and to characterize the blue straggler stars we would use um, virtual observatory SED analyzer to generate an analysis the SED using multi-wavelength data from NUV to IR. So in this first we generate a SED for observed star, and then we feed that observed SED with model SED using chi-square fit. And to study the mass segregation, we used radial cumulative distribution function. Uh, yeah, yes. Because, sir, we do trial and error method. Yeah, yes. Yes, actually we do for many stars. Basically, we do for many stars. For a cluster, I'll show that. Now, after that, we analyze this result. If it is okay, then we proceed with it. Now, the first cluster is IC1590. That is a very young embedded open clusters in the NGC 281 region. So the most prominent feature of this cluster is the HD505. That is a trapezium like system that is composed of 4 stars, and these all are O type star. And in a molecular cloud, this type of structure is very important. So if a star that is earlier than B3 type, that will emits intense UV radiation, and then this UV radiation will ionize the hydrogen gas in that molecular cloud, and then the cloud will become so hot, and it will start glowing, and this is called H2 region. And then due to intense stellar wind, the dust and gas around that star will pushed away and form a void-like structure that is called superbubble or galactic chimney. And the in the peripheral region, the material from surrounding will accumulate, and then star formation and subsequent star formation will occur in that place. This is my cluster. Now we have used that method, unsupervised machine learning approach, ensemble-based unsupervised machine learning approach, and we found 91 cluster member. You can see the proper motion vector plot, all the member moving along the same direction. So you can say that this is a robust method to determination of membership. Then we estimated the best fitted astrophysical parameters such as distance, age, metallicity, extinction for this cluster. And then we take the counterparts from 2 mass catalog, and we plot this two-color diagram, and we identified some near NIR access source that are probably. Yes, we have done that also. That is in the uncertainty range. No, sir, we have not give the distance fixed value. The tool had already fixed fitted that. Yeah. 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 You have the parallax information of all those members, because you already identified the member. So from parallax information, we can do that. We have also done that. Yeah. No, if we determine the distance from directly from parallax, there is some problem because the error, the uncertainty. So we have a method from Bailard zones. We have done that already. So this is also to fit from parallax method. It is 29 to. I have not included that here. Yeah. I have done that. That is from parallax. If I consider the Bailard zones method, that is coming around 2600 per sec, 2.6. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. To fit in the parallax, if I estimate the distance from parallax, the uncertainty that we are obtaining, that is, if you consider that this distance is within this range. because this is automated. We give a range. Yeah. If I consider the range, then yeah. Also, mean, yeah. So we also verified with literature that is also close to this. So that's why. Because for Azteca, first we give them the our observed cluster. They will mimic that cluster for a range of parameters, and they will generate a synthetic clusters. And after that, they will give us the values. No, I did not give any range of any parameter. We give a range of parameter. For distance, suppose there is 2.87, we give 2000 to 4000. They will estimate this below based on this CMD. Distance, metallicity, then age, and then extinction. To feed the CMD with isochron. No, synthetic. Uh, yeah. Yeah. Yes. No. I just need to give them our observed cluster. No, this is not the membership part. Yes. Then we estimate the structural parameter. So we use Marknitz and Monte Carlo method here. So these are the values: core radius, then tidal radius, central density, and the background density. So then we estimate the mass function for this cluster using a segmented linear function. So we use Monte Carlo method in which we generate the synthetic cluster using these best fitted parameters, and then we calculate the Euclidean. We estimate the mass of each stars and their uncertainty, and we get these values. For low mass end, we get this slope, and for high mass end, we get this slope. So for high mass end, that is comparable to Schell-Peter value, that is minus 1.35. But for the low mass end, this is very different. So this is a clear indication of mass segregation in this cluster, because in the high mass star will moving towards the cluster center, and the low mass star will pushed away from the cluster center. So to verify this, we uh, investigated the mass segregation in this cluster. So yes. Which one, sir? Yeah. This is maybe due to the method. Due to, so for fainter side, actually we extrapolate because No, yes. Because we get up for Gaia data there is limitation because after 21 they are incomplete. G magnitude 21. So we extrapolate up to 0.1 solar mass. We get up to 0.5, 0.6 solar mass. Then we extrapolate beyond that we extrapolate fainter side. In the brighter side, they are actual data point. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. This is due to the method. You use Monte Carlo method. That is. We also use 20,000 data points. Still, that is generally we use. Yeah, we also see in some literature they also use 20,000 data points. No, 20,000 data points. Then we calculate the Euclidean distance. Euclidean distance. Yeah, ma'am. Repeat the question. Must end. No. I must end. There's actual stuff. What they have there. This is uncertainty because we calculate the Euclidean distance from our observed stars and the synthetic stars, and from that we get the uncertainty. That is statistical. So we determine the RCD, that is radial cumulative distribution function, for a different magnitude range, and then for we also done KS test for this, and this is a dynamically young cluster, that is 12 million years. Its relaxation time, but the age of the cluster is 3.54 million years. So yet we are getting the mass segregation. So this mass segregation may be due to the primordial process during the star formation, or early dynamical evolution of the cluster. Then we perform orbit analysis, and we found that that is outside the solar cycle. And then we use Pinizer technique to generate the extinction map. And then we extracted some contours from Herschel 500 micron dust continuum data, and we found that the extinction map and the dust structure is consistent with each other. And then now we overplot our stars in the was 12 micron mid-infrared image, and according to Hester, he proposed two scenarios to explain trigger star formation. So if in a cluster, if there is a trigger star formation, then the YSOs will concentrate it within the H2 region, and the edges of this YSOs will comparable with the this massive ionizing sources at the center. So we found that the all the YSOs that are less than 2 million years, and that is comparable with the HD 5005 system. So we can conclude that trigger star formation is taking place in that cluster. So this is my first cluster. Then we studied another cluster, NGC 6193. So here is also in the center there is a O-type star. There is a also two O-type star, binary system of O-type star. So we also expect trigger star formation in that cluster. So we also use unsupervised machine learning technique here to determine the cluster membership. And from proper motion vector plot, we can say that this membership are actual member of this cluster. Then we also determine the astrophysical parameter for these clusters, and we identified 31 OSs in these clusters. Then we determine the radial density profile, that is structural parameter for this cluster. And then the mass function, we also getting mass segregation in this cluster. And in this cluster, the low mass and where we extrapolate, the error is more, but in the high mass star range, the error is less, because this is depend on the method. Actually, I have not thought about that, so I should increase the data points to reduce the error or lower the data point. We have to see that. For this cluster, for high mass, because the conventional method use bin, that create more biasness. So that's why we use this approach. This also use bins, but that is automated. We use random number we use also use. Yeah. Yeah. So we have take up to 0.1, extrapolate up to 0.1. Yeah, yeah. So Gaia data, Gaia data. Because there for cluster there is some unobserved star. So that is, yeah, up to 21 we can use Gaia data, 21 magnitude. Below that we can't use Gaia data because that is incomplete. Huh? Because we extrapolate that. Extrapolation. Uh, Up to 0.6 we get with Gaia data. Then after that extrapolate. Mhm. Yes. Actually, sir, I have checked myself for up to 0.5 to 0.6 we getting from Gaia. And after that, for some unobserved mass, how they behave. Yeah, 0.1. Yeah, 0.1. That is we consider it as unobserved mass. Then again we analyze the orbit of this cluster, and we found a peculiar thing that the space velocity of this cluster is 212.0.9 kilometer per second, which is very large for a young thin disk component cluster. So this is because due to this cluster is very close to galactic plane, and that has very low eccentricity. So for this, this may be for this And then again we generate the extinction map 212. That is absolute total space velocity. Yeah. No, that is from some catalog. Yeah. And again, from the earlier cluster, here we also conclude that there is a trigger star formation. Now, Berkeley 39. This is an old open cluster, and this type of cluster is ideal for study the blue straggler stars. Now we use machine ensemble based machine learning approach, and then we get to 780 cluster members for this cluster. Then we identified 21 blue straggler stars in these clusters. Yeah, using a method that is given by rain, called rain. And out of 21, we get 19 stars in EVOT. And yeah. So we use 0.5 as cutoff. No, sir, we use 0.5 as cutoff. Above them, they are 80 to 90%. They are confirmed member. Then we also investigate because the blue straggler are the high mass of that clusters because they are above turnoff. So we again investigated the mass segregation. We get very nice mass segregation in that cluster. You can see in the diagram, and these are all dynamically relaxed clusters. So we can expect advanced level of dynamical evolution. So then we also generate the because they have already evolved because yeah, yeah. Because they are already relaxed, their velocity their energy of equipartition already increases. Yeah, I am coming to this point. Yeah. So after that, we getting this structural parameter. Uh, I forgot to give the equation. So there we calculate the concentration parameter. That is log of tidal radius by core radius. So we getting greater than 1 for this. So we can say that this cluster form a core halo structure due to the uh, dynamical evolution. So the core become very dense. So that's why I call them advanced level of. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So for this is not global stars cluster, old open cluster. Yeah. Yeah. So when the core become very dense, so the probability of collision becomes very high. Then the merger probability of merger become very high. Generally, in open cluster, we get only mass transfer phenomena. But when the core become very dense, these things become very easier. Then we search for variability of this blue straggler. We found two blue stragglers found to be eclipsing binary. They are beta Persei algol type that is given in a catalog. So we found there we used Lom's-Kargol periodogram to generate this light curve, and then the orbital period is found to be for this BSS that is 1.07 days and 1.77 days. this short period of this eclipsing binary such that they may be formed through case A or case B mass transfer channel. Then we feed acids for these blue Straggler stars. These are this may be due to the data point, the data quality, because we no we there are different pipeline there. There are different pipeline though, so pipeline according to the pipeline, their data quality is stage data. Mm. I have not checked that. So then I have fitted the acids for first we fitted single acid. That is we use cruise model first. So for that we successfully fitted 14 BSS candidates for out of 19 BSS. So we get this parameter for this 14 BSS, and these BSS may have some hot companion that is undetectable to UVOT, or they form through merger. That's why they don't have any companion. But we after that, after fitting the single acid, so we calculate fractional residual. So fractional residual, and if we get conventionally use 30% excess in UV, in that range, if you get 30% access in two filter, so then we consider it to be UV access sources. So that may be due to X-ray also, but we could not find any X-ray sources for this BSS. So that's why, then we successfully fitted two component acids for 5 blue straggler stars. So for this 5 blue straggler, we get this for hot component of this 5 blue stragglers, we get this uh, parameter for this white dwarf. So, so if you consider a single star and if that evolves, then in Hubble time that could not produce a white dwarf mass less than 0.4 solar mass. So we can say that this has to be a mass transfer product. So that's why we conclude that they are post mass transfer system. And because seeing their mass range, they probably helium white dwarf. So that's why we called it may be case A or case B. They cannot be case C. If they case C, then it has to be carbon oxygen white dwarf. And we plot the HR diagram for this, and these are the hot components of these blue star clusters. Then for NGC 2243, that is also a old open cluster. We calculate the membership for this cluster. We got 889 cluster member. Then we identify 12 blue star clusters in that cluster, and also mass segregation also is present there. Then for this, the concentration parameter is also greater than 1. And for this cluster, we have successfully fitted 11 blue straggler with single component acid and 1 blue straggler with double component acid, and that has a white dwarf companion of temperature 19,000 Kelvin. And this is also probably a helium white dwarf. And this also a post mass transfer system. So from IC 1590 and NGC 6193, we found evidence of T star formation. Then how the uh, massive star in the center interact with the molecular cloud. And then from Berkeley 39 and NGC 2243, we understand about the post mass transfer system, how the blue stragglers form from mass transfer. And this is my future plan. So this is my for publication references. And then and lastly, I thank director sir for giving me this opportunity to present this talk, and Neelam ma'am for your support and guidance. And lastly, my supervisor, Dr. Vimanjiti Medi, for his support. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, nice talk. I just want to know what is a tidal radius and what is core radius of a cluster.
Okay. Core radius, there is a formula from King model. So for core radius, where the density, the central density is where the density become half of the core density, that is considered as the core radius. And when, yeah, in that formula, that is considered as where the density star density become the half of the core density. Actually, I forgot that. But tidal radius, that is when the density become uh, equal to the background density. We consider that point as a background tidal radius.
So this is actually half of the maximum density, because in the center, exactly at the center, you will have the maximum density and it will fall. And that maximum density, when it falls half of that maximum density, that is the core.
Yeah.
So then you fit the King profile and determine all these parameters. So definition of core radius is this. Okay. One thing that you have observed two old open clusters and you found blue straggler in both of them. While blue straggler rare star.
My intention was to study blue straggler.
So how you found this cluster? I mean, how you check? Because before the observation,
I have not observed. I used archival data.
You use the archival data,
Yeah.
and you search for many different old cluster and then choose these
less
where you have the
where the UV data is present.
Okay, because it is rare, right? I
Yeah.
mean, blue struggle you don't find in all the
All the
old open
and the
clusters.
UV data is very rare. Sir.
Yeah.
CVA UV data.
Did you also check for the astrosat UVIT? Because
For this
many
two
of these
cluster,
clusters for BSS have
Yeah.
been observed with UVIT also.
because for these two cluster there is no UVIT data, because we have UVOT data. So next I will try get some UVIT data. So yeah, yes. Next year I will. This year I will. Yes.
Knowledge of a reference cluster.
No, this is unsupervised machine learning approach. We do not need anything
No, but
prior.
when you do Mahabole,
Mahalanobis distance.
it requires a reference cluster. Without that, it cannot because in Euclidean you calculate distances from one to the other, but in Mahabole the distances are calculated from the reference cluster itself. You
Yes.
cannot do it without it.
No, we have a distribution. We consider this distribution and point from this distribution.
Yeah, so then it is taking the default maximum density distribution as the reference because you don't give it.
Yeah.
So, but usually the best idea is to have some known properties and then use that known properties as the reference cluster parameterization.
No. It is unsupervised, totally.
So you talked about this same question as talked about Mahalanobis distance. So that's the distance between two distributions.
No, distribution to point. So we use distribution to point.
Okay. In the future works, you mentioned about spectroscopic studies of blue stragglers, right? So what do you intend to get out of that?
And like, is it the case A or case B scenario? Do you want to distinguish between that?
So for to get the mass transfer scenarios, we really need a very high resolution.
Yeah.
So I have recently observed with 3.6 meter DOT. So let's see what I can get from that.
But do
statistical
you
data.
expect some kind of chemical signatures from
Yeah,
spectra?
some metallic line or molecular line that in that resolution maybe I will not get.
Okay. Uh,
The CO, yeah,
very high,
that
right?
that's our resolution is very
Not pretty high. So the molecules won't be there, right? Yes. Yeah. So
my
mm,
no all the BSS not all BSS have wide document. Yeah, but that BSS we will not get. Yeah.
but so you haven't analyzed the data yet. So you have got the data, but
Yes, I
okay.
have got the data. I have not analyzed.
Thanks.
So I just want to understand the machine learning part of it. So you mentioned, so you give a single cluster data to the
Ha.
machine learning, then it is already known that they all belong to the same cluster, or
No.
what is the
First we give a appropriate range of parameter to narrow down the sample.
okay?
Because we download for actual membership analysis, we download for a large search radius. So
Mhm.
the sample is very large. There is lots of field star. So we use KNN algorithm
Mhm.
to narrow down this sample. Then we calculate the Mahalanobis distance to the risk of underfitting or overfitting due to multidimensional data. So then we use GMM, Gaussian mixture model, two component. One is for cluster star and one is for field star. Then we apply expectation maximization. First we predict a responsibility for a star. Then we maximize the likelihood. Then that is a iterative process. Then up to when the method converts, then we iterate it. And when the method converts, then it will automatically assign a responsibility. If this is greater than 0.5, that will be cluster star. If less than, then that will be field star.
So these are all the different steps you do in the machine learning part.
Yeah.
You're telling. Okay.
Mixture model. Did you also try to see that which parameters it was more sensitive to?
Yeah, ma'am.
When you were using the Gaussian mixture model, so it is clustering the stars in the cluster or whatever, right? So did you try to check, you would be giving some parameters in the GMM, and whether there were any significant changes when you deviate from the parameters that it is taking?
We did not give any parameter because this is automatic. We give the range, then automatically it will predict about the membership.
Yeah, but in the background, it would be doing something, right? Although it is automated, but in the background, how is it performing those?
There is three parameter. One is mean, one is then weightage and variance. That will be play the role. So we did not see that because that is when we making the code, and then run. If the vector diagram is coming right, then we'll say okay, all the stars going in the same direction, so they are axial cluster memory.
There is also something called auto GMM. You may be aware of that. That's a newer one as compared to GMM.
I have not checked that.
Checking with the radial diagram is that you'll get the clusters right, but I mean, whatever you have, like it could be in the inner core, but there could be some outer stars that would be left behind, which you'll consider as the field
That's why
stars.
we the KNN part, the GMM part, and this structural parameter part. These three part I have done simultaneously because when the tidal radius fitted, then I consider it to be okay. The membership part is complete because we also have to fit the tidal radius, so we can get the all members. So we can take any search radius. Then for that we get the membership. So for any radius we cannot fit the tidal radius. So for which search radius the tidal radius fitted, we take that one. What? That is,
They're all pointing in the same direction. But then for the inner ones, it's fine. But for those labeled as the field star, but they could be the customer.
In this method, there is always this system. There are some field stars, maybe
Maybe part of the cluster.
yeah.
there are some cluster members who are left out. from the field star.
So we is 50%. That is a conventional method. 30% member star may be cluster member.
Hi. So I can see you have used p-nicer technique for measuring extinction. So are there any specific reasons? Because there are other methods. So I have used this technique, but I was getting very low extinction when I was comparing with other techniques like nice or nicer. So you are getting, I can see around 1.2, right? So if you use like nice or nicer technique, it will be increased to like maybe 8 or 10 magnitude. So
Actually,
are there
the extension we are getting from there, here, also in the range of extinction we are getting from CM,
literature?
isochron fitting also in CMD. And also this is a automated process. So
Yeah,
that's
this
why
is automated.
that's why we use. We cross verified that that is matching with our previous result, or then I from isochron fitting what extinction we are getting.
Okay.
Definitely.
So that may be right even after that. But to what extent they are coming?
The PMM part is that the membership part is totally dependent on the KNN algorithm, the range we are giving, because there is a for KNN algorithm we calculate average nearest neighbor distance. So that is we take a smaller search radius. So the cluster center is dominated by the cluster member. So that's why we take smaller search radius to get a appropriate range of parameter. And the whole process is depends on that range of parameter.
Data uncertain. Larger than it is initially.
If no more questions, then let us thank the speaker.